What do you think contributes to the change in direction of music?
Fearless artists. And what I mean by that is like every turn in music is somebody that really was like, man, I ain't scared to do this. I'm gonna do it and change.
Give me an example.
Okay, I'll start way back. So you had Missy Elliott, right? Missy Elliott was one of them people that would get turned away because they didn't want her in the video because they didn't think her looks were right. Or, all this jazz they was trying to put on her. She was super talented. Her and Timbaland created a sound that shifted everything. It made people on this level copy the style, people on this level copy the style.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, there was a whole nother sound and feel.
Yep.
Now that I think about it, because I wasn't in music, I was rap, everybody rap, but I didn't think of it like that, because now that I think back, she was like something no one's seen before.
Yep, that was one. And then you got Puff for his years of doing his thing. Like, rap was super rugged in the early 90s. It was just, dirty, gritty. And he came with, we need to bring some money to the game. And he came with sampling popular records, which was against the hip hop law books then.
Right.
But, I lived that because, I was in Philly. All we listened to was Major Figures, Locks, Beanie Siegel. This was the beginning of what they called the shiny suit era.
Yeah.
He shifted the sound because it allowed rappers like Ja Rule to make all the hit records he made, Nelly, all the hit records he made. And that led to 50 Cent saying, it ain't no more shiny suit. Now it's,
right,
what I mean? Hardcore, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which led to, I'm the down south version of 50 Cent. Led to Jeezy and T.I. was the so-called Jay-Z of the South. And those, when people were daring and changing those, it pivoted music. Everybody wanted to do trap music. Doing, you know what I mean? And Gucci was like, man, I got a voice. And they all made music go this way. Every time somebody's not scared to do something, they end up in this space where it changes the world forever if they get the platform to do it.
Welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast. We find dope people that did dope stuff, and we have a legend today that's been dope for a long time now. Been in the game for a minute. The Cannon. That's my favorite drop ever.
That's what's up, man.
Where you get that from?
I can't tell you that. I can't tell you where I got that, but
is
been
your
around
name,
for a minute.
Is your name Don Cannon?
Yeah,
it's
my
your real
name
name?
is Donald Cannon. I take the Donald off because of Donald Trump. Let me stop.
Man was born to be a star.
Yeah, Donald Cannon. The funny thing is, when I first started, I started when I was 5, but all the way up into high school, I didn't like Cannon.
Really?
Yeah, I came to college. I was Donnie Brasco. I found out he was a cop, and I was like, I didn't get out of there. You know what I mean? And then Trendsetter and Drum, they just started calling me Cannon, and I was like, I hate that shit. It's my real name. You know what I mean? But then I grew into it.
But even in Philly, that's a real word. You're a Cannon.
And it came years later. It came years later. They were saying "Can On." That was 2002, 3, 4, 5. I was already there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it became that.
Yo, well, we know you as mogul. Can you just kind of just put out some of the stuff that you've done in terms of songs we may know of that you produced or you get credit for?
Yeah. So I first started out with some of the mixtapes like T.I., Down with the King and Drum, doing the Gangsta Grills. And then I moved into production right around 2005. My first record, really nobody knows about it, but it was this group called Slick and Rose. They were in Japan. And I did that for Japan version. The second record I did was Jeezy Go Crazy, which was Jay-Z. So that was the first record that really got people's attention on what I was doing.
Your second record in your career, Jay-Z and Jeezy.
It's crazy because I was putting out, this is why I really realized manifestation was real. Because, Jay-Z was my favorite rapper, where everybody else was on, Big and Pac and all of them. I was Jay was the man, you know what I mean? In 96. I was listening to his music. I was like, he gonna be hot. Everybody, man, get out of there. You know what I'm saying? So I always was when I get there, I want to make records for him. He was already moving, he's 4 or 5 albums in, but I was like, yo, I'm gonna catch one day. And one day, Jeezy just hit me actually Jeezy and Coach. And they was like, yo, we got something special for you. I'm like, here they go with this nonsense. You know what I mean? And it was like, we got Jay on the record. I said, bro, stop playing with me. He got on the record. And not only did he get on the record, he did like 64 bars. So that was like, man,
Crazy.
I was done. At that point, I was like, I really was like, I can work with anybody at this point because I hit my goal for the first, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Having that, what did it do for, not your career, but for you? You know what I mean? Like did it put a battery in your back saying, yo, I'm going to go full-time producer? Because you wasn't full-time producer at this point.
I mean, I was, but I wasn't professionally full-time producer. You know what I mean? So the problem with me was coming up, coming out of high school, you graduate, counselors be like, yeah, you going to end up in jail. You know what I'm saying? You going, you ain't going to make it. Go work be an iron worker, which iron work in Philly is like big. It's like in Detroit where people work at, Ford, General Motor, whatever it is. And that's all we kept hearing ringing in our head because Philly was such a tough city to grow up in. So they was like, man, you ain't going to be nothing. Yeah. Sometimes your family members be like, you ain't going to be nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Go get a job. Don't, all that dreaming shit, throw it out the window. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
and try to give me the edited version if you can.
Okay.
If you can. If not, we'll bleep it out.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it like that. But yeah. So
where were you? Because I don't really know like the backstory. Like where were you before? Because I remember you from Aphilliates and like, being in the music industry. Mm-hmm. But what about your childhood made people say, yo, he's not gonna be nothing?
Well, it was just something that the older folks just said, you know what I mean?
Was you in the streets though, or you was just?
Nah, not quite. But I mean, we lived in some terrible neighborhoods. So, you didn't have to physically be doing street things to be street. Like, everybody says he was a street dude. And that meant that they was, into some stuff. I was a street dude, but wasn't into nothing. What I meant by street was I was outside from 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, running around. We was doing, playing basketball. We was fighting, just like, it was things that we was doing, but we wasn't necessarily quote unquote gangster or, you know what I'm saying? We was just, we went everywhere. We went places that most people in their cities wouldn't went. Yeah. I traveled the whole city of Philadelphia and played basketball in every tough area. Yeah. Even in high school when I did things like my job was lifeguarding and, teaching people how to play tennis, but it was in neighborhoods like North Philly, and South Philly, like, cleaning up, crack valves and stuff off the tennis court so kids could play. And that's still street because you have to know your environment. And I knew people in every city. Like I lived between two projects. It was Abbotsford projects and it was East Falls projects. I had to go through that every day to get home. So if I came this way, going to Abbotsford. If I come this way, going through East Falls. So, when you really from that, you don't talk about it. You know what I mean? You just live through it. That's how you know there's some realness about the person. I don't have to go through that. You know what I mean? Some of the high schools I went to, they wasn't the best high schools. Yeah. But we lived through it. It's Philly. It's a tough city. I'm not going to say it's better than other city, but if we had to rank it, like it's a tough city to grow up in. So when you have counselors and stuff telling you, you know what I mean, you ain't going to make it or, you know what I mean, just get a job. We went to counseling in school to get some type of structure. You know what I mean? And the structure wasn't there. It was like, bro, we don't see it for you. You know what I mean? So, getting past that, I carried this chip on my shoulder from like high school all the way to like 2002 or 3 because I was still going back home to Philly during the summers from school. And I got in a space where I was like, man, I'm not going to make it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because...
So those seeds planted started to grow.
They planted. And then, I went through hard times. I don't know if people was in touch with their real self and all that. Like I went through some heavy times being broke, being not eating some days, having the same t-shirt all through school. When I got kicked out of school, out of Clark, Drum took me in. I was living on his couch. Really? You know what I mean? So I'm running around. And this was Glen Iris, by the way. This was, 4th Ward. This wasn't like I moved to Buckhead, you know what I'm saying? In the early 2000s. But like going through those times, like, I was crying, I was mad, I was frustrated. Nobody knew how to deal with me because at that point I was upset. Like I really wanted this dream of mine to work. And I realized like when I got the Jeezy and Jay-Z placement, it solidified me like, oh, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I look back at things in a humble way, because it's like, man, you know what I mean? I was supposed to be here from what the counselor said, but I made it to that point.
What was the dream? Like when you're like broke, you in college, what was the dream exactly?
The first dream was to get some money, honestly.
Just let me just have some money.
Yes.
That's the dream.
And then once I get the money, I'm gonna go full passion with whatever I want to do. And you know, some people like, you know, in my family will call me a prodigy because, again, I got my first turntable at 2 years old. You know what I mean? I got my first record, which Michael Jackson Thriller, at 2 years old. I started spinning at 5. You know, I had my first
demo. You
was
DJing at 5, bro?
Yeah. I did my aunt's wedding at like 5 or 6 years old.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who taught you?
My Uncle Keith. So I had an uncle, he was like a big DJ in Philly. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, he just chose to anoint me, you know what I'm saying, to be the next DJ out the family. So, you know what I mean? I wound up following his, you know, footsteps. And like I said, it was just like always brushing my teeth. It was, you know, 8, 9 years old. I had demos. I was rapping and making my own beats. I had my cousin Keith, which is my Uncle Keith's son. I was producing his records. You know what I mean? So I'm 10 years old when normal people are playing with toys and, you know, video games. You know, my main thing was music. I had drum machines. I had cheap drum sets. You know, just little stuff. And I had like pictures and documents. So, you know, one day I'm gonna just show that because people were like, yo, you came a long way. So by the time I got to Clark, I was already, you know, masterful in what I wanted to do.
See, I'm thinking second record, Jay-Z and Jeezy, and it's like, yo, he had an opportunity. Almost like, yo, he was in the right place, right time. He got lucky, but you've been doing it since you was 5.
Yeah, I wasn't lucky like that. Like, again, that was crazy. Work. Like, we had an artist from Michigan, Willie the Kid.
I remember
I used to work with Will. He was in the dorm. Another kid from Detroit. His name was Jay Lyrical at the time. He's Detroit Red. He was a producer. All the steps was happening. Like, again, when I came to Clark, I was still poor. I had turntables and a Gemini mixer. That's how I make my beats. I would just sample on the mixer. You know what I mean? And when I met Jay and them, he came down with a beat machine and a keyboard. And I was like, my man Jay Lyrical.
Gotcha.
So, he was like, yo, this how you make it on this. He had a 4-track. Yeah, all this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So I just scrambled. I went home, bust a move, you know, came back to school. I never was really good in school, but I was always smart. Like, I thought I was more advanced than the school. So I never told the story. You got to get the exclusive. But when I was in college, one of the summers I came back, I was telling my mom, look, I need to get a keyboard. You know what I mean? I need to really get into this. She was like, well, you don't do good in school, right? So my father passed when I was 11, right? And we had this pact that if I would do good in school, she sent me a letter. She was like, on my dad's grave, if I do good in school, in the next semester, she'll front me the keyboard now. Mm-hmm. And she was working hard. I mean, I think she was working like a couple of jobs at this time. Like, she couldn't buy no beat machine. So I was like, bro, I'm about to put this on my dad's grave. So I signed it. I originally went to get the MPC, and the store was sold out. And the guy at the Guitar Center, it was the Sam Ash, either one of them, he was like, yo, I know you want the MPC, and I know you seeing what they doing on TV, but look, you want this ASR keyboard. I'm telling you, a lot of guys using this. I was like, no, MPC. He's like, bro, you're never going to find it. So I went and got the ASR, and that was like, you know, that led all the way up to now where, you know, the success came out of that story. So that was some of the things.
You went and did better in school that semester?
Well, I did, but I still didn't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't care for school. Like, I still was sitting in biology, and I was still in there, like, and it was weird because people was like, yo, if you don't like, you know, I was doing business management. He was like, yo, if you don't like, you know, all that, you can go to Mass Comm and learn the radio. But when I went in Mass Comm and learned radio, I knew all the boards already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it didn't make no sense. So I was like, okay, I don't know that. What am I going to do? And then I actually got kicked out of school And then 9/11 happened, and that's where it was like, yo, I came to the crossroad. My mom's like, what you gonna do? And I was like, I'm gonna stay down here and figure it out. So I stayed down. You know, that was the moment your parents be like, because you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, figure it out.
Did you work a job?
Nah. I hustled all through college, which meaning I was DJing. I got a couple opportunities. So Philly Most Wanted, I don't know if anybody remember that group. They came, they were living in Atlanta. A friend of mine's, which was up in Philly, named MB, he hooked me up with Philly Most Wanted, and they seen the skill, and it was like, yo, we about to go on tour. Went on tour with them. That led to me going on tour with Miss Jade and Timberland and Bubba Sparks on the Beat Club tour. I wound up, I knew it was a pivotal moment. I was still in the dorm, and we did Jenny Jones. You know what I'm saying? And we did Jenny Jones. We did the performance. When I came back to school, to the dorm, it was like, yo, you was on Jenny Jones. It's over. I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that was really, them turning points when I went on tour. Alex, which is big in Atlanta, AG Entertainment, they put me in front of some good parties. I done P. Diddy parties, 19 years old, 20 years old. I was doing Shaq parties. 21, I did Whitney Houston birthday party. So I was just in that mix. I was already making money. Yeah. And then Drum was pulling me in to open up for him at some clubs. And it just, that's how I made my money.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. So you're, so how did Aphilliates come about? Because I knew about Aphilliates because me and Infamous, we went to school together. Yep. And then we came down. And I remember I had made him an Affiliate t-shirt. Like I made the logo, like I was like painting t-shirts and stuff. And it was just so lit. Like y'all just had the swag, y'all had the streets on fire.
Right.
How did that company come about? Were you still sleeping on his couch when y'all created that?
Yeah, we were. So we started out, it was a crew called the Super Friends. Mm. It was DJ Mars, Trauma. They had the city. Yeah. And you wanted to be a part of their crew. Mm. So they made us a part of their crew. But we always were just like a Megatron, the three of us. You know what I mean? Trendsetter, Drum, and me. Yep. So we always had these like little windows of opportunity to make our own brand, but we never did. We had like managers and we just couldn't figure out the name. PH Balance was the original name because it was Philly Balance, and that didn't work out because, it was like, that ain't work out too well. You know what I mean? It was like, nah, that ain't it. You know what I'm saying? And then a guy, a friend of ours named Ace McCloud. This is the weird thing. Like Ace McCloud, I knew since high school, right? He was like an older guy, but he was down here already.
Trenton?
He's from Philly.
You from Philly?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that who Big Ubi talking about? Ace
So U was from Trenton, right? And Ace was his manager.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But I met him randomly. I was at prom and the IHOP. He was like, yo, what's up, young boy? What you gonna do? Like, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go down to Atlanta. He's like, oh, I'm down there. We gonna link up. So that was our story. But he was already friends with Drum and since down there. So he ain't had no idea what I was doing. So, long story short, we linked together when we got down there. And he was like kind of running with us. He was a rapper. He was kind of like doing some management, getting us gigs, whatever, little stuff. And then one day it was like, man, y'all mess with everybody equally. You know what I mean? So like, y'all really be affiliated with people. And we was like, that was it.
Really?
That's how we came up with the name. So the Affiliates was basically a playoff being affiliated with everybody. Like we didn't have no beefs with no other rival DJs, no crews. Yeah. That's what it became. And we put the PH in there for Philly.
Gotcha. So when y'all created the company, was it a legit company?
Yeah, it was a legit company. Yeah.
Y'all had like paperwork, like this is my percentage, your percentage or not?
We didn't have that broken down. We just had the LLC. We was kind of like, we rigged it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, you got this, I got this, just know. You know what I mean? But
did it ever cause any issues? Because we don't know who owns what. Like,
I don't think so, because honestly, bro, and they'll be attest to this, we were so broke trying to make money that we just was eating at the pot. We just knew, hey man, it's $30 in there. Don't take 40. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was like, man, take 10. Right. You know what I'm saying? It was just what we were already, established with. We was friends. Like, again, like our respect level for each other was in a different space because we was hungry, was broke. You know what I'm saying? So when we first started, it just was like, hey man, put in. We put in. Anybody, like we made $100, put in $10, just to build the pot. And, you know, at that point, when we started growing, I think we started saying, hey, we're, you know, 33.
Yeah.
And then
eventually y'all got the paperwork together. Okay. Gotcha. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That y'all can still do that, because especially like with, let's say, like drama out in front.
Yep.
Any egos ever come about, like, yo, you, and it's like, as a man, you feel like, yo, I'm dope too. Like, why ain't on the flyer? You know what I mean? Like, did you ever have any feelings of that? All right, listen, every single week, every episode, you hear me talking about themorningmeetup.com. It's the community. Let me show you what's happening here. Every single morning, Monday through Friday, there's 400 plus people on a Zoom call, right? We're learning, we're talking, we're growing together, and this is you. There's all these people here. It's all these people in the morning meetup. Hundreds of people reading books, growing. We get together quarterly. It's amazing. And for some reason, you just keep looking at, just go to themorningmeetup.com and get in the circle. And then you'll be like way happier. Just themorningmeetup.com. Let's get back to the episode.
Yes and no. And let me tell you two things. If there's a Jordan, there was a Pippen. You know what I mean? The movement won a championship. You know what I'm saying? So I was okay with, you know, whenever I was called to be Jordan, I was Jordan. Whenever I was called to be Pippen, I was Pippen. And that's just where my mindset was at all times. Yeah. I was like, I'm a team player. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I'm Kobe, I'm Kobe. If I'm not, the next man, you know, or if I'm Phil Jackson, for instance, you know what I'm saying? That's just how I operate. That's how you know what I mean? That's what I'm on.
Logically, that makes sense. It just seems like, and I've been in situations where it's like, it's me and a group of people, and I mean, your pride, or like I'm not arrogance, but you're like, I'm really better than these guys in my own mind. And I can say that now because this, you know, as I'm young, I'm having these feelings.
Yeah.
But like, so you never was like, yo, I want to, because drama's always been the major face. Mm-hmm. You never in your heart was like, yo, I really want to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I'm gonna say it on this, they probably gonna watch it, but I'm better than them. You know what I'm saying? But point blank, I'm better than them. They may tell you I might be technically better than them, like on a DJ level. I'm a different dude. I study. You know, I'm in it, like in it. Drum and them, they're great DJs, but I'm like the best. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Sure. That's just how I felt.
Yeah,
and
you should.
Knowing that I feel like that, if they give him the merit before me, I'm not cool. We friends. Yeah. So it's like, bro, you got it. Yeah. I'll be right here.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was still like, the way we kicked it was an assassin type thing. Like if he was DJing, it was like, oh y'all think we messing around? My young boy right here. Yo, young boy, show him what to do. And I go in there, give him hell. So now it looked like two Jordans up there.
Yeah,
you know
for sure. I mean? Yeah.
So that's how we was on. We just always kind of bounced the energy like that. Even with Trendsetter, it was like, he always was like, yo, get him. And I would, you know what I'm saying? And they older than me. So, you know what I mean? So I just, you know, I roll with the punches.
Gotcha. So I think everybody knows like how y'all can sit down too. I don't know if there's a seat over there. I don't know how, like it, for some reason, it was like just a powerful movement and then it stopped. Obviously the raid happened and you know, that kind of situation. But who decided, or why did y'all decide to like shut it down? Why couldn't y'all just get past the?
So when the raid happened, that was our first finger pointing thing. And we were talking about separating the business. That's when we was like, who owns what? Who does what? What's my percentage? Because, you know, you point fingers at the time. What did you do to get us here? Or what do you do? So then that starts making a separation between your friendship. And you know, you got people over here like, man, they did something. You better get out the way. Or, you know, and they were hearing it too. So it caused a divider between us where we didn't know who to trust, what, when, where, how. So because, again, we never had a mentor like a Kevin Lyles or like Steve Harvey come put his arm around us like, yo, I see what y'all young brothers doing. This how you do it for real.
Sure.
So that's where we was just winging it. We didn't know. We was just out here making money. We never thought that we were doing anything to disturb. All we felt was music. You know what I mean? We never thought about anything. So when that happened and the divide came, it was like everybody started their own joint. You know, I started blaming Drum for a lot of stuff. He started blaming me. We started blaming people that we had up under us. It was a lot. Just not even for like the raid perspective, but just anything. Like if it was anything, we were just arguing over everything. So, you know, I stepped off and I did, I wanted to learn the business a little bit more. So I know, you know, how to play it. I took a job at Def Jam as Vice President of A&R. And I wanted to go to Def Jam and like try to figure out everything, you know. And I was working closely with No ID. We basically just lifted up the hood and was like, oh, they got nitrogen in here. So, you know what I mean? When my contract over, I'm about to go do something crazy. But in between there, like I was living in Cali, Drum and were here. When we finally sat down, like there were some times where we got into, you know, some heavy arguments where it felt like it was about to be something going on. But for some reason, God never let it happen. You know what I'm saying? One day, I don't know what the situation is, but Drum just hit me like, yo, we should sit down and just talk. You know what I mean? It's like, cool. We went to Jersey Mike's. You know what I mean? By the time we got the food and sat down, we didn't even know what we was arguing about. It was just like we came back to that space of like, oh man, I don't know what we was thinking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, that's crazy. That's interesting too, because the raid wasn't any of your faults, but like one day, like we're tight, and then some like an external factor comes in and creates a wedge. Now we're pointing at each other, and we don't even know why. Like, why am I this? It's not your fault that this happened.
Yeah.
But I'm just blaming you, and now we separate. I think that's a lesson.
It's tough too because listen, bro, we were scorching hot,
crazy,
scorching hot. Like when Dedication came out, it felt like we was touching gold every time. Anybody could bring any artist to us. Because we was putting full passion into those projects. We lived all passion. Like, oh man, there's no way this gonna fail. You know what I'm saying? So when you got that, you start building an ego. It's not like we get in Hollywood. We were still the same dudes. We was out talking to people on the street. We was like, yo, we cool. But on an inner level, it was like, man, I'm cannon. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like part of the raid happened to kind of like bring us back down to the humble beings we were from, you know, up above and like, hey man, I put y'all here to do this. I didn't put y'all here to do this. And I think that, you know, when you get your first piece of success, and this goes for everybody, I know when I got some huge checks at 26 years old, and I was doing the most. I was buying cars, crashing them. F it, I'm gonna get a new one. You know what I mean? I was just in a mode. I was feeling it. You know what I mean? You know, we had all the women around. We was just doing a whole lot. You feel yourself. So when you have something that brings you back to that moment of, oh man, I forgot who I was. So then that's where, you know, it settled us down. It was able for us to sit down and rebuild the structure from a humble state.
That's a very mature thing to say.
Yeah.
Like to look back and say, yo, I was wilding. Like I got arrogant. Like, and I think obviously that that happened for a reason, because where you're going, it's probably gonna be 10x, 20x what that was.
Right.
And you gotta remember, hey,
that's facts. That's
come
facts.
on, man. Don't go to the dealership and say, I'll get all the colors.
Yeah, I was doing way too much. I bought a green Tahoe or something, and I was like, this color ugly, leave it. Get another one. Just was cutting checks for no reason. I was buying chains.
Mixtape money?
What? Well, you know, I had production money. I was DJing.
Oh,
we had, you know what I'm saying? We were hosting tapes.
Coming from everywhere.
Yeah, so the money was different. So in this, like, Atlanta in itself is a melting pot of people. So when we go in the club, we competing. You know what I mean? We you want to throw 5,000 ones? I'm going to throw 7,500 ones. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to throw 10. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to go crazy. How about that? Y'all see me? I'm here. So that's what I was on. You know what I mean? So, Drum, you know, we moved entirely different, and we had a lot of influences like in Atlanta. So people was doing their thing, and people was, you know, showing that they was doing their thing.
You very rarely get to hear someone like reflect and say that.
Yeah, I see it vividly. When I say I'm in touch with what I got going on, I'm in touch with every piece. I remember almost everything. And at the point where I was like, oh, you know what? I was doing too much there.
Yeah.
And then God put me back on a good track. So that's where I feel like the company was able to grow back because, you know, none of us really hit hard times where we was back on the street, you know, and sometimes that happens to humble some people. Ours came in you understand what that trial was,
Gotcha.
you know,
Gotcha.
in the tribulation. So now get to it the right way where I put you at,
Gotcha.
you know, and that's what happens when you God-fearing it, you in those spaces, you just get right on track. You don't I don't play games with it. You know what I mean?
And you said you took the job at Def Jam, Vice President of A&R?
Yeah, A&R.
Your role is to go find artists, yes?
Yeah. So at that time, I was in, when me and Drum and Trendsetter split, I was like, yo, I need to make a genre, you know what I mean? Or kind of help contribute to a genre. Like, so a subgenre. So we had rap, we had Jeezy, T.I., but Atlanta had a culture that nobody's seen before, which they would call the hipster movement, right? So one of the things Stevie Williams, a good friend of mine, is a skateboarder. He like, you know, I call him Michael Jordan skateboarding. He came down, he moved down here. I was like, yo, we should open up a shop. Look, I got all the artists come through. We can make this joint big. So we opened up a shop called Skate Teak. We had a ramp. It was in a little 5 points. And I brought all the artists through. 840 came.
Y'all did that together?
Yeah, that was our store.
Oh, I thought it was just Stevie. I didn't know you had.
Nah, we was partners. Yeah.
Okay, I see what's going on.
So just in that skateboard community, you know, I've known so many people. So, you know, at that point it was a pivotal group called 2-9. Reese was in it. Reese LaFleur, he's out here. And just a movement here. When people was coming here, it was just the Earthlink Live kind of thing. It was like Big Sean came, Don Kennedy, Asher Roth, Currency. All this stuff was something that I was involved in. And I was kind of like, you know, the Phil Jackson to it. People was coming to me. I did the mixtapes. That was their first the way out. Because for a certain amount of time, it was hard for those guys to even get a mixtape.
Word.
Yeah, because it was like we only was working with a certain amount of people. And it wasn't the people on a higher level. It just was, we saw people that we wanted to work with and we wanted to help. You know, there was, I always talk about working with Yo Gotti at some point, working with Slim Thug. We were just in this mind frame. So I always kind of worked with some of the younger folks there. So I was like, yo, we could start something in Atlanta and build it. So we built it. Cool Kids came out of that. Currency made a huge name off of some of the stuff we did. Again, Asher Roth, just a lot of those guys. And that was my kind of footprint on a new beginning. It was like, oh, I'm helping these guys. I was like one of the first guys to do videos for mixtape records. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so, yeah, we was doing like behind the scenes stuff at 2009 and 10. It was like, why are they doing a video for, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or the making of or whatever. So that was my footprint on starting something new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've seen like a couple different kind of like I don't want to say evolution, but like different seasons of hip hop and artistry and all that, right? So from the time of like Jeezy, trap music to where we are today, and I'm not into music like that, so I don't know where we are today. Like some stuff I hear, I'm like, I have no idea. What do you think contributes to the change in direction of music?
Fearless artists. And what I mean by that is like every turn in music is somebody that really was like, man, I ain't scared to do this. I'm gonna do it and change.
Give me an example.
Okay, I'll start way back. So you had Missy Elliott, right? Missy Elliott was one of them people that would get turned away because they didn't want her in the video because they didn't think her looks were right. Or, you know, all this jazz they was trying to put on her. She was super talented. Her and Timberland created a sound that shifted everything. It made people on this level copy style, people on this level copy style.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. So
there was a whole nother sound and feel.
Yep.
Now that I think about it, because I wasn't in music. I mean, I was rap, everybody rap, but I didn't think of it like that because now that I think back, she was like something no one's seen before.
Yep. That was one. Gotcha. And then you got Puff for his years of doing his thing. Like, you know, rap was super rugged in the early 90s. It was just, you know, dirty, gritty. And he came with, yo, we need to bring some money to the game. And he came with sampling popular records, which was against the hip hop law books then. Right. But, you know, I lived that because, you know, I was in Philly. All we listened to was Major Figures, Locks, Beanie Siegel. This was the beginning of what they called the shiny suit era.
Yeah.
He shifted the sound because it allowed rappers like Ja Rule to make all the hit records he made, Nelly, all the hit records he made. And that led to 50 Cent saying, it ain't no more shiny suit. Now it's,
right,
you know what I mean? Hardcore, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which led to, oh, I'm the down south version of 50 Cent. Led to Jeezy and T.I. was the so-called Jay-Z of the South. And those, when people were daring and changing those, you know, it pivoted music. Everybody wanted to do trap music when doing, you know what I mean? And yeah, Gucci was like, man, I got a voice. And they all made music go this way.
That's
then you go on it, then you go into where I was calling, they called the hipster era. It was like the underground. I got
like conscious, kind of.
Well, Drake came from that. He wouldn't necessarily be conscious, but he came from that era. He attacked those people. He was like, yo, I hang with y'all. I know them. You know, I know them, but I'm cool with y'all too. So I gave him a bridge. You know what I mean? Same thing Kanye did. He had Talib and Jay-Z, and it was like he bridged them.
Yeah.
So it was like that sound created that. Drake came with a sound that was incredible. And everybody wanted to copy from 2010 till now still, from 10 to 15. Then you had, you know, where we started the generation now, which was like the Lil Uzi Vert, which kind of created, you know, a different emo sound for rap. That was like first rappers really talking about their emotions really like that. You know what I mean? So that's where like every time somebody's not scared to do something, they end up in this space where it changes the world forever if they get the platform to do it. So that's where music just keeps, you got that evolved in, I ain't emotional no more. I'm socking people outside. You know what I mean? It's drill time. You know what I'm saying? So that's how the music evolves. And then, you know, soon people are gonna be like, man, we getting in trouble for socking outside or like, you know, and clicking up and stuff. So let's get back to dance and love. And that's where it's headed now. You see, like,
is that where it's going?
I feel like
I feel like you got the crystal ball. Like, you know where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, in my philosophy, I think like when we was doing too much, like we had the Waka Flocka and Scrappy, we was tearing the game up in the South, right?
Yeah.
But I felt like at some point it was getting oversaturated. So they made EDM. And EDM was basically that music without rappers on it. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it was
explain EDM.
So EDM to me was like EDM trap was like it was just beats.
Yeah.
Noises. You really didn't hear vocals. They had like little like splashes of vocals they would sample from people, but it was just, you know, the EDM era, all you heard was beats and festivals, you know what I mean? And then that changed into, we want to hear somebody rap on these beats now, what's going on? And then the EDM DJs went to start get the rappers.
Gotcha.
Rappers took it back from just nobody being on the beat to back to the rap. So, you know, it keeps changing because this is just what our culture does. We get tired of something for a second, be like, all right, we're going to chill on that.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So you think about Drake right now, think about like Sticky and all the songs he making, and you know, even Beyonce, the rhythm is different now.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see in the next 6 months which rappers are daring enough to do that, or we go into another era of 50 Cent or Puff Daddy. I don't know where it's gonna go. I just know that right now, people were tired of hearing we outside going crazy. Now they're like, bro, we ain't going to jail over this. You know what I'm saying? We making too much money. Let's do a different vibe. And there's always reality rap, but that's just what I see what's happening now. People just like, man, I'm chill.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I haven't, you know what's crazy? I'm a Drake. I really like Drake. And seeing, I haven't heard the album, but seeing what everybody said about the album really killed my excitement in listening, which is crazy. I got influenced to not listen to a rapper I absolutely love. But now the way you're saying it is he's doing what he does that made me love him in the first place. He's creating the lane.
He always has. Those guys, like, you know, that's why we make the Mount Rushmore. And I have a Mount Rushmore in tears. So what I mean by that is I have the people that I know is not moving because of what they've done in the history of music. Then I have people that's on the come up doing that.
Yeah.
So Drake is one of those guys that's just always pushing the envelope. And you can't say nothing bad about him because he always does. He's just pushing the envelope 24/7. Kendrick's pushing the envelope. Kendrick didn't have to do what he did on his last album. He could have went from Damn to another Damn making huge hits.
Yeah.
He made an art piece, but it was for people that he was like, bro, I'm not speaking to everybody. I'm speaking to people that really want to listen. I want to teach y'all something. So he gave y'all a perspective. You know what I mean? So that's where I feel like music is going to. It's like everybody having their own perspective of what's supposed to be happening. Like, we don't all have to do the same thing.
Listen, if I was going to teach you how to make $1 million, would you give me 10,000? Like if I had a course teach you how to make $1 million a year positive, you're going to make $1 million, would you give me 10,000? Of course you would. It's no brainer, right? So in a calendar year, we make 7 figures with the podcast. But there's 21 things that I extracted from that you're going to need to launch a podcast. But I only got time to give you 3 right now. One is you need a distribution platform. The distribution platform is what you upload your podcast to. That platform sends it to Spotify, Apple, Google Play, so that your supporters can actually listen to your podcast. You're also going to need a microphone. You need a really good microphone so it's crispy audio. And 3, you need an income strategy. This is not necessarily a hobby, unless you're going to make it a hobby. But I can teach you how I made the 7 figures with these 21 things. Now, the good news is you don't have to give me 10,000. My ebook is only $37, okay? So listen, go to podcastebook.com and get the 21 things that you need. And I can explain it in detail, all the things that you need, okay? Podcastebook.com. Let's get to the episode. Yeah, and it's really, bro, this conversation is helping me more than you know because, like, again, I'm not in the music space, but I see some things in the entrepreneurial space. Like, okay, like everybody's selling a course now. At some point, somebody has to do something different. And now in my mind, even as you're talking, I'm like, okay, what's the different? What is the different in my industry that everybody's going to follow? Because it seems like, especially in music, you can only have mild success doing what everyone's doing in the moment.
Yeah.
But if you want to change the game, you have to be the person that's going to create the thing that everyone will be doing in another moment.
Yeah, somebody had, well, you know, like you, I've known you forever, right? One of the things I seen that was smart, you had shirts and books. You were in Cumberland Mall, I had a kiosk. And I walked through there and your hustle was different. You know what I mean? Most people in kiosks, they don't really speak to you. You had an outspoken kind of positioning. So it was only right for me to see you in this moment. You know what I mean? Because this is the next level. You spoke well, so you here. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
But, you know, I was having this conversation earlier. We see Angela Yee. She went, so yeah, the Breakfast Club is over as we know it, right? So we was trying to kind of decrypt it and figure out what it really meant. And all we know is the bottom line is it's over. But I thought about it differently. I'm like, oh, does that mean that podcasts and these talk shows on different platforms are tearing radio up to where we don't have no appreciation for the Greg Streets and the people that's in that space? What does this really mean? So everybody moving into the podcast, like even at Invest Fest, we went there, like went into the, you know, the vendor room, and I seen no radio presence. No, you know what I mean? No streets.
And that's odd for you.
Very odd. Because you go to car shows, you see those. You see, you got to stop by Hot 107.9. Yeah. You got to stop by the streets and talk to Ferrari and them. You got to go to V103 and see Greg Street and Tigger and everybody. So like to see a room and have 15,000, 20,000 people here to learn in that room and there's no radio, it's like, oh snap, has the game moved into podcasting? Has it moved to Sirius Satellite? What is it? Like, is it just playlisting? So in a world now where everybody has a podcast and everything, the person that wins is the person that turns it into a different type of podcast. You know what I mean?
Man, darn, I missed it. I had a table and like I'm selling like my morning meetup, which is my community, and also like t-shirts and stuff. Mm-hmm. I wish we had this conversation last week because if we had, I would have literally set up my booth like the radio station. Like, yo, you got to come by and get your perspective.
Bro, so many people was there and it was like the opportunity was missed. Like I've never walked around a room like that in the World Congress Center and not did interviews. I was walking around supporting Black businesses. I didn't talk to anybody. Not one person. I'm sorry, one person. I talked to this guy, Nick. He had a joint, but it's very brief and short. But he won because he was the only one sitting in there really doing an interview.
Thank you. Listen, y'all see me at like vending somewhere, it is going to be a podcasting studio. I got it.
Yeah,
got it.
Bro, this is
got it.
It's imperative because, bro, even if you're in the room listening to Steve Harvey, if that's what you want to do, if you backstage busting up with some investors for the building, just thinking about having that stand there that's working for you when you're not there. You have to. Like, there's so many people walk through that room. You want to know, Beyonce might have came like, hey, I'm an investor. I'm at the Vest Fest. And you missed the interview.
I missed.
And she might have had, so those are things that everybody wasn't doing that shows us, oh, he on a different wave. He got the whole social proof set up right there.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing it. So it's like, you won.
Yep.
If the dude wound up having a bigger space, they gave him a small space. So it was like, he did whatever it took to get that. But if he had like, when you first come in and it's right there, which you probably would have did.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's over.
It'd have been first stop. Yo, come get your gift bag, your t-shirt, get on the podcast and win.
Now that
That's
I know.
where, those are the things where people are not doing. Like I told people, nobody's done what Fab Five Freddy did in a minute. Fab Five Freddy did MTV back in the day, and he would go to like Tupac's crib and they would walk down the street and just talk, have a conversation. He would go to Easy E's video shoot and they'd just be, busting it up. Or MC Hammer's, dining. Like me and Jeezy did one old school, like right around Trap or Die 2. We went to a sushi spot and did our whole conversation with MTV there. Like there's nobody doing that really that I haven't seen. Most people have a studio, in studio, stuff like that, but nobody's on set. Like I'm on set with, Rick Ross, or I'm at, if they go to his house, they're sitting in the middle of his crib. You know what I'm saying?
I can't miss this moment, bro.
He's sitting in his crib, but y'all not walking out talking by the cattle, or you're not by the water. Like there's no real interaction happening. And that's what I liked about it. Like you have a lot of MTV raps, you got a lot of basement stuff, but there's no interaction of people together in a different space. Like, you know what I mean? I was telling people, like, if me and Drum was to do something like that, we need to be walking down North Avenue with Tip and remembering those days, or just talking. Like we can't be sitting in no studio talking. Like you gotta feel attacked. You gotta see how people
I feel attacked right now.
Yeah, like figure out like Fab Five Freddy, he was walking by and Tupac would see some fans and he's like, Pac, yo, we love you. Yo, come here. He signed a t-shirt right on the TV. Like that's a different experience.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That people are not getting. People are not feeling that situation. And everybody's always chimed in and was like, well, today is messed up. People be trying to do this and that. But it still has to be that space where, even it's a segment, on the scene segment. That's what goes into that vendor shop. It's just on the scene at all times doing stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I'm excited. You excited? You got ideas? Is it happening? It's happening right now. Oh my gosh. Yo, all right. So, oh man, this is crazy. What's your, what you and Drum, it's just you and Drum that have the company for the record label.
Yeah, so Lake Show, which was also some guy, he went to Morehouse. He's a friend of ours. And
not Trendsetter? He's not in.
No, Trendsetter is just, he was still a part of the whole affiliation, but not part of Generation Now.
Gotcha.
When Generation Now started, to be honest, it was like whoever was gonna put in super blood, sweat equity and had some dividends to actually move, you know what I mean? And I ever told the story, like when I was bringing, I found Uzi, I brought it to Drum and I'm like, yo, we could do this again. Like, you know what I mean? We should do it. And not one person said no. You know what I mean? We had some backlash from some people. We knew it's like, nah, that ain't gonna work, man. You got purple hair. You know what I'm saying? It was like, what are y'all doing? I was like, bro's talented, but I get it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I think Lake was one of the first people like, bro, listen, I'm trying to change my life. I'm all in. I love this. I'm willing to do whatever. And that's how he became the partner to what me and Drum was moving forward with.
When he says I'm trying to change my life, what was he mean by
Well,
that?
he was doing management. I think at the time he was managing Mace, Bobby V. He was still doing Freeway at the time. And I think he was just trying to learn the business and get to another level. I think he kind of had management down pat. And we just used to admire him from afar, just like some of the stuff he would do. You know what I mean? And I think that he was like, man, if I can get to this level, I can, kind of use management as a part of another business. It's like we all as entrepreneurs, we're trying to find that quote unquote 6 ways to make money.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he was trying to establish. So he went all in, you know.
Why a trendsetter not? Why was he just like in another lane or?
He was around. I just think that there's sometimes when you have friends and you have business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't really know, because everybody always asks this question, like why he's not in the business, but I really don't know, really. But he's always been around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes when it's on paper, it's technically this, but in reality, it's all of us.
Yeah,
still there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's really my answer. I don't really have a real answer of why he's not available. You know, it's a couple people that felt like they were supposed to be a part of the situation. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Now it's up to us to really get past it and figure out if we friends beyond the business and really can be cool without, you know what I mean, having to worry about why I wasn't in it. Or you know what I'm saying?
And on your label is Jack Harlow too.
Yep.
Which is huge.
Superstar.
Did you know that was gonna happen?
Yeah. So, you know, again, I tell this to everybody. When we look for artists, we look for conviction. And you know, when I found Uzi, it was like I was in Atlantic City. I heard him on the radio, ironically. You know what I'm saying? And it was something different. I was like, man, a Philly artist sounding like this could be huge. It was something different. So when I brought it back down, it was the same pattern with Jack. It was like, this dude can rap. Where you from? Kentucky. Kentucky? What are you talking about? I'm from Kentucky. I'm from Louisville.
Did he have a following?
Slightly. Maybe a little bit at home. You know what I mean? But when he came to meet, it's rarely people that we meet that come and sit with us and know exactly how the whole thing's going to play out.
What do you mean? Explain that.
He came to our meeting. He was him, and he had a producer, which he calls his Metro, which was 2 for 1. And they was sitting in the room, and we was asking them, so like, what's your vision? You know, that's the icebreaker conversation with artists. You know what I mean? And Holmes was like, bro, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I'm eventually get here. You know what I mean? And I skipped past the actual names of the plans because I won't give up the secret. Sure. But he knows exactly where he's going to be. Like even planning out an album, he'll be like, yo, meet me at the studio, holler at you. We get there. He has a plan of what he wants to be. We talk about it for 3-4 hours. It's just the planning is not a normal artist. You know, most artists, they go in, make 100, 250 records and pick 12 on the album or 20. He's methodical.
So he's not just recording mad stuff and picking the top ones. He's like, yo, this one and this one. This and he's like really like an artist, not just
and you're not gonna hear all the records. If he was shooting jump shots or doing some scratch songs, you're gonna hear what he's working on. Like he'll work on records over and over till that one's perfected. And that's something that you don't see in a lot of artists. It's like, make this record, that's gone. But how can I make this better? And then he'll ask around and do certain things. He'll have a meeting about it. So dude's whole thought process just allowed us to really think that he was going to be here. Like you just see him on TV, you see it, and people say, "Oh, it's privilege and all that." It's not. Dude is really good as hell. Like, he's good as hell. Like I can't deny nothing he's done. Everything he's doing now, he deserved it. He put in work. He went out there and performed in front of 10 people when people said, he ain't gonna be nothing. When we was first bringing him around, they had this joke with us that he was Napoleon Dynamite. And you know what I mean? And we ain't fuck with it, but dude knows exactly what he's super confident.
Yeah.
Most people like, when they come out, oh, he ain't wearing cool J's and all that stuff. He was like, man, I wear New Balances. That's what I do.
You saw something.
You see what I'm saying? It was when he talked to us, it was like he meant that. And when you meet those people, you roll with them.
Yeah, I thought the music industry was like, yo, you gotta have something pumping on TikTok. You gotta have some following. You know what I mean? And they're not signing based on what you said. Like they're not signing based on talent and like the person. They're signing off of what they think they can market. Isn't that like the majority of music?
Yeah, it is. Because everybody pays attention to analytics and the algorithm. I don't give a damn about that. You know what I mean? I don't like algorithms. I don't like analytics because, if somebody got small analytics, they might be one of the best rappers or diamond in the rough. Why are we worried about some numbers or how people like them? You know what I mean? Or what TikTok is doing, or their song is doing this. Those are only promotional tools. The promotional tools shouldn't dictate to us who the next star is. That's just how I feel. And everything, it shows with our company. Everything we got in our company, nobody's been a TikTok sensation. Nobody's been Instagram kid or, everything, even saying he's bubbling in the streets. We never had nothing that was bubbling in the streets. It was all built from the ground. You know what I mean? So I think we did that with the mixtape games, and we're staying close to that with picking our artists. Like when nobody was working with, Jeezy when we first did this, you know what I mean? He was doing everything on his own. Paul Wall came around. David Banner came around. These are all people that was building, and we just helped build them. We helped, their vision.
Wow. Can I get a water? You need a water?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Who's next? Like, who do you have, like, and tell me why? Because I think as entrepreneurs are watching this, there's certain qualities that you're talking about, especially when it comes to Jack or Uzi, and I'm sure you see something, and it gives people hope to know, like, yo, I ain't got the following, but I got all the other stuff, right? And I'd imagine if they have all the other stuff, you know what to do with them. Like, yo, if you got that conviction, you're willing to work, you are actually talented.
Yep.
We can build the numbers, right? Who, like, on your label is next, or who do you see something about?
So we got this kid named Seti, and like I said, part of doing this is knowing how to not overlook most of the time. And sometimes we miss with a couple artists because that's not where we think we should be. You know what I'm saying? But think about somebody like Seti. His whole thing was, and he tells his story, is that he got out of jail and decided that he ain't want to let life no more. You know what I mean? And he was a bright kid, but he came to Atlanta and snuck in our studio and was acting like an intern.
What?
And we didn't know because we don't know who's being hired or, So the organization is different. We got people that put this together. But for him, he was coming every day to the studio like he was an intern. And just being in there. And nobody questioned it because it wasn't like a sore thumb. He was like, yo, what's dude doing here? He looked kind of sketchy.
He's adding value.
He just looked like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was moving around. And one day he told Drum, I guess, that he was gonna be something. And then my guy Willie Joe was like, yo, is this kid in here? He dope. I'm gonna get it together first. I'm gonna bring it to you. And then he was just standing there humble. And I was like, you got fired? He's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was like, man, he's saying, yes, sir. Is that a South thing or is he like, he being on some humble? So we built. By the time he was ready to present, he had the whole play. And we found out he was sneaking in the studio. It was like, that was a different way to win. You see what I'm saying? Everybody got their tactics, but he was so convinced that he was going to sign to us that he went to those measures.
Man.
He was in people's rooms. Like, he was in rooms with people, and people just thought, oh, he's canning them homies, bring them on. You know what I mean? He was in sessions with Uzi. He just was moving around. And it worked out for him. You know what I mean? So
that's all the other stuff you need.
Exactly. So he was the one who's next. We got Illuminati, which is, we found her at 18 years old. She's dope. She's always had a good following on YouTube, just rapping. We're building her right now. And Carvina, which is the new R&B act that we have, that's phenomenal, great singer. She's been on the 4 before years ago. This is another person that never got a chance because people, turning their backs.
Yeah.
And I think that we can do something with it.
Yeah. So you've like dominated, you've been in the music industry, your whole life, but actually in the industry for what seems like a couple decades, man.
Almost. So if we're gonna mark 15 as like our actual date, we're 17 years in. You want to add 20 because we started mixtapes in 2001.
Yeah.
Add another 4 years.
Right.
Make it a clean 21. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, we built what we're doing now. We built in 2002. Like, we had a mixtape called Generation Now, and the artist we broke was Kanye, Joe Buttons, and Stat Quo.
Word.
Signed to Eminem. And then we did another one, which we had Corey Guns, Jay Mills. Like that's where it started. And we're just using the same patterns over and over again just to, to build today. So like, if you want to give it 21 years, I give it 21. I say 2005 because that's where it was like dedication. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, they arrived.
Yeah.
So sometimes I stay there. Some drum takes it back to 98, 99, only because he was already doing it then. He was around Mos Def and Talib and them. Wow. So he was already professionally DJing in them spaces. So you can give him a cool 25, 20, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
26.
But now you have, you've been in music for a while. And typically when you're in an industry, you kind of make your money and your moves in the industry, but you got an app now, which I thought was so dope. Did y'all download it? Did y'all download that? Yes? Download the app.
They'll get on it sooner or later.
See, I'm telling y'all, don't try to jump on later. All right. TMRO.
Yep. It's called Tomorrow. So our initial idea was to get paid fastest tomorrow. So again, a lot of So first of all, the app is a creative marketplace where you can go in there and get jobs. We started out early. It was all creatives. And as I was moving around, educating people on what it was, I got everything was music.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm doing music. How can I? So I'm like, how can we kind of like hone in on the music part? So, again, where I'm going to A3C and I'm going to these big events and I'm speaking on panels. And the one thing at the end, when they say, hey, we're going to have some questions, people come to the podium. It's 20 people at the podium. 15 of them are like, yo, how I get on?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, my kickback is, what do you have?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a producer yet. And I don't have, people to do my content. I don't have these things yet. So what I was doing, I was like, oh, okay, let's bottle all that up to where an artist can get on the Tomorrow app, find a producer, find a mixer, find a master engineer, photographer, everything.
Everything.
And now we're moving into like, we have a beat store, which people soon will be able to sell beats, and a song store where people will be able to sell songs, and just making a community without social. And I think that sometimes when you're in a social media presence like an IG, you got to go through a whole bunch of webs to really get where you want to go. So, we could be busting it up on a DM. You could be like, yo, listen, I got this show and I want to do this. We got to go through a whole bunch of talking instead of saying, yo, I need a producer.
Yeah,
I need a beat.
I see on here, so the services are music producer, songwriter, singer, vocals. You can just find a vocalist. Like, where would you? Yeah. That's crazy because you
guitar
think
players on there, and I'm in the later updates. We're looking into putting marketing people,
makeup
on there.
artists, wardrobe stylists, all in one.
Lawyers, anything we could possibly help to get people there. Like, I never thought there was a problem getting your music to the outlets, the DSPs, which is the digital service providers or whatever. And that's Apple, Spotify, and all these things. I never thought it was hard because you have United Masters doing it. You have DistroKid, you got Empire. I didn't think that was a pressure point. The pressure point is when I go to Huntsville, Alabama, and people run up on me, it's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people have producers, but they don't know how to get people to come film them.
Yeah.
Or, in the later parts of that app, like I said, people to help them with marketing. Entertainment lawyer. It's like a lot of stuff that, we go to places people have no idea. The big cities are almost there, 80% there with knowing what to do. There's a lot of places I've traveled all over the world that just don't know, that people just want to get into.
So is this your app? Do you have partners? Or?
Yeah, so my partner is my fiance.
Oh, wow.
And we built this app. It's actually her idea, how she puts it, as she had some friends that were wardrobe stylists, but they couldn't keep jobs. So they had to DoorDash to make ends meet. And we were like, yo, what's the DoorDash for stylists? You know what I'm saying? What's the thumbtack for this? And that's how the idea came up. And we kind of embellished it into the music industry because, a lot of people want to be in that space. You know what I mean?
This one's super clean too.
I appreciate it.
How much do you think you put into this app?
750,000, maybe. Yeah.
It looks like it, for sure.
So it's about completely bootstrapped, no investors, nothing. And that's how passionate we are about it. We took time to, put the chains up and all the exotic stuff
Yeah.
to put it into something that'll help the community and just build like a unicorn. I really think this is something that people need. And the app was a great investment for me. You know, I could have ran around and invested in a bunch of silly stuff or whatever, but I invested in this. It started out, you know, doing the actual MVP of it, which is, you know, your proof of the, you know, app. And that started at like $250. And but then you have to add maintenance. You have to you gotta, you know, keep changing things. You gotta pay for new updates, color changes, and stuff to go around it. We started out after we built it. I actually did a crowdfunding program with Start Engine to get people from the community involved in it. Like I wanted, you know, when you have like where I'm at, when you got people around that we all know, everybody's gonna say, yo, how can I want to invest in the app. I want to do things. A lot of people don't have a certain amount of money to invest. So we made it at a level where you can get some shares for as low as $250 and be a part of this situation. And during the pandemic where people they didn't know where the world was going. They're like, let me find something to invest in.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And we put it out there for that whole year to do it. Isaac Hayes was one of the people who did it first. And he just schooled me on it. Like, bro, get the community involved. You know what I mean? Him and Dawn Dixon, she was another one. Shout out to her.
Shouts out to Dawn.
Two smart individuals, bro. They just on another level with it.
Yeah, Dawn expand my mind so much, bro. Like she really is brilliant, and she thinks so big, bro. Like the stuff I'm not even thinking about. I'm like, oh yeah. So I was telling her I was building this studio, and she was like, yo, I mean, why not 10?
Yep.
And I started asking myself, yeah, why not 10? And then we just opened this joint, and I started thinking, yo, we're gonna need like more space. We're gonna need more. But before I even opened, Dawn saw something else. You got to be around those people. Man.
Yeah, like even with Dawn, like I've known Dawn for years. We all came up. She was at the clubs. She was pushing the flat out hills out in the street. Just knowing her for so long, even when we moved into the space of trying to learn, because she was here already, I never once was like, yo, I need a favor. Teach me. First thing I did was I hit her up and I paid her. She had something called, I think it was called Supersede or something like that, where you could actually get on a conversation for 30 minutes with a mentor to talk. I never had one problem. You know, a lot of us out here like, I know you're going to charge me. I was never in there. I was like, yes, I want to learn. So after that initial space came in, we knew we was friends. She continued to, check in. Yo, you good? What's new? How y'all doing? You need any help? Da, da, da. And the same thing with Isaac. Like me and Isaac had debates for years on music. You know what I mean? He's coming from a different space than me. He came from Isaac Hayes. The lineage is different. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
He knows things before a lot of these people coming up, just based on his father and what his father did. So talking to him and him being on the next level with it helped me understand tech and other things. He's talking, he's doing things that I don't have time to do. Like I'm making beats and producing artists. He's in books and on Crunchbase, looking at numbers and understanding seed rounds and all that stuff. So to be able to have that type of brotherhood to where I can reach out and be like, yo, what you think? You know, should I be doing this? Should I get this person to help me? Or, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff is good stuff, man.
Good. Yo, so what is and when I see like an app like this, my thought is, because it's based on a bunch of people that do a bunch of stuff, and then you got to get the people to download it, like the people that are gonna like consume the stuff that people have on the app. It's almost like what comes first, chicken or the egg? Do you fill the app up with services first, or do you try to get the adopters first, or is it you just put the message out there and hopefully it just kind of does?
Yeah, so some people are so convicted. It started with me just moving around. People like, yo, how I get on? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, this is how you get on. Right?
So say I'm an artist and I need a videographer. If you don't have a videographer on the app, then it's like, all right, download it. We'll have some stuff coming next. Or if I'm a videographer and you don't have people that like have the app, it's like, all right, I'm just on here now.
No, so the thing is to get people on the app. So when you get in there, there's people for you. I would never invite somebody that's not on there.
So you had those conversations first, like, yo, you do something dope, I'll build the audience, just be here.
Yep. And it's just not creative, it's client-based too. So we could have somebody like, Josh on that motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like that out.
You've been doing great. You've been doing great,
he's looking at, he looking to get somebody to film, something. He can get on there and be a client. You know what I'm saying? He could, anybody in here could be a client. You don't have to be creative. But it was built for the creative, by the creative. Sure. But you know what I mean? You could be a client on that joint and very well find everything you need. But we had to get people in there so you're not in there by yourself. Like when I was on Instagram, there was 500 people on there. I was down there in Austin, Texas for the South by Southwest.
When you first got on Instagram?
Yeah, and they was just running around the street with these like, get on Instagram. So I was like, let me see what that is. I need something, my time. It was just all nature.
500 people.
500 people. It was all nature. I remember being on there and being like, that's the end of it. It's like, it was all like
when TV used to go off at the end of the day.
Animals, people's perspective of what the building looked like. It was nothing. You know what I mean? So I know that's where it has to start, but we want to get people in there and having, a comfortable community for people to say, oh, it is stuff. Oh, he's dope. Oh, things in there. And just, I pushed a part of the portfolio. So that's what engaged people at first. It's like, yo, if you're not going to find any jobs or be on it right now, at least build a portfolio on there. That's the first step. Sign up, build a portfolio so you can actually use it as a business card as well. Oh, yo, here go my portfolio. Check me out. And it's the app.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing these portfolios and that's where you get engaged.
I think it's important for people who have a service to probably be on there early because right now you can go on there and you can find a songwriter and all that. The people that we're going to hit up are the ones that we see.
That's
you know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
I think that's important. And I think it's pretty cool too, as a consumer, if I'm looking for, let's say, a songwriter, like, I got this idea in my head. I have this idea of a song. It's important to like reach out to these people because it's like, it's not a whole lot of people. It's not 100,000 people in that joint yet hitting them up, causing them to change their prices. So I think it's important that we both, like consumers and like service providers, now is a really, really good time to get started.
And it's good for protection. Like you think about somebody like Wallow, he hit me like, yo, I seen this app. They told me he was involved. Man, what? Like, I want to get into it real quick. I said, all right, cool, call me. Call. It's like, bro, listen, man, I be running around Philadelphia looking for videographers and, just looking to pay somebody.
That's exactly how Wallow sounds too.
Yo, and it just, this just relieve a lot of pain for me, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, word. He was like, we talking about it. And I run him through the app and I tell him, yo, one of the most important things for us too, as clients looking for people, is that when you're in the app, you're paying through there. So when you're selected for a job, that money goes into like a kind of an escrow thing. And when you're in there and you press job done, the money goes.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I don't have to chase
too.
you around for your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't, all that stuff. You be like, yo, I sent your invoice through the DMs. You get it? I'm like, yeah,
bro,
people don't get paid.
Yeah.
Like all that we trying to eliminate, bro. That money's sitting there. When that job is done, it's going in your account. We use Stripe. So it's like, you set up your account and, it's just ready. That's why I say get paid early as tomorrow. As soon as they press done, that money in your account. You ain't got to chase nobody. You ain't got to wait for no 90-day net 30s or net 60s.
Gracious.
You know what I'm saying?
Jumping in the tech space, man. That's huge.
Bro. I mean, I always
this is good. It's not like a whole lot of like loading and buffering. That's what I'm saying. You put about 750 in this.
Hey, I'm looking for investors. You want to invest, get with me.
So you're taking investors now?
Yeah, we're starting to open it up a little bit for the investors. I mean,
It seems like you already have connections to people who would invest. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do. The toughest thing is education. Again, education, period, is the worst thing. If you're a teacher in high school, educating kids is the hardest thing to do. And you moving into entrepreneurship, just convincing people that this is the next unicorn and this is the next business, it's hard to do. You're going to run into bumps where you can do as many of these that you want, but then you ask somebody, hey, I want to take this whole lot and do the same thing all the way down. It's going to be hard for you to convince people to do it. Some people going to be in, some people not. It's just what it is. So to continue the education of it and be in a space where you have those people is tougher than people think. Like, I'm going in right now. One of my toughest things is we don't have an Android version yet. And, Android version costs as much to build as the original because it's two different setups.
Yeah.
And, that's something that, I will throw out another $325 million, but I would love for people to be involved. And use people's resources as well. Like investors is not about taking money and just being, it's about their leverage and what they got going on as well to help the business grow.
That was my next question, between an investor and are you looking for partners as well?
I would love the partnership because you're able to, it's just like on rap. When we put out a mixtape, one of the things we did was in Atlanta is a melting pot again. There's a lot of people from Milwaukee, Detroit, Phoenix, wherever you from, right? In Atlanta. When we was doing our tapes, we was giving them to people. When they went back home from school, they went back to their prospective cities. And now 10 of their friends, 15 of their friends heard the tape. And now the whole city's going on fire because they want more of the tapes. So the same thing goes on with the investors. It's like, we want people that can talk to, I don't know Steve Harvey. I don't know Tyler Perry. Can we invest in people that have a strong relationship with, Wendy Williams or whatever, to get us in those spaces to help, educate people. That's where they're supposed to be. So that's important as well.
Yeah. So not podcasters.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually want podcasters on it because artists need that. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I want to be a partner. You know what I mean? Like, homie, I got a little outlet.
You're in, bro. You're in. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. You win.
I love it. So we talked about a lot today.
Yeah.
Anything we miss? We miss anything?
Nah. We talked about everything. Shout out to Infamous because that's the first person I seen you with. He was, he grinded with Infamous from the jump.
Yes.
And when we seen each other at the Vest Fest, I was trying to convince because when we're in a space and people are like, they're looking at you like, oh, yeah, that's Dave. I'm like, listen, let me tell you about the history. First thing he said was, yo, save it for the podcast. And I was like, all right, I'll save it for the podcast. But
absolutely,
the history is different. Like watching people's come ups, like it's the observing is, it's good to see this space like this, man.
Well, thank you, man. I was actually, when I first got to know y'all, and I was just trying to get into the office. I came to the office one time and I was just floored. I'm just super nervous because I'm I see these guys. These are bigger than life to me. But I was working at the Cheesecake Factory when I
remember that.
I remember when you bought I thought it was a black Tahoe. It was some color Tahoe. I remember because we were outside and you pulled up and it was like, oh, you got a new truck? And you yeah, I got a little something. I didn't know that was one of 6.
Yeah, I remember the Cheesecake Factory. So all that, when you watch the grind, it was you really never really told anybody. It ain't you came to our spot and was like, look, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna do this. It was just you seeing the movement. You just seen Sleep for Suckers everywhere. And I was like, oh, that's my man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
he going crazy right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's good to see the space, you know what I mean? And just, and give hope for all the young folks out there to kind of see the movement and move forward.
Absolutely.
In dreams.
That's why I was kind of talking about your backstory, because there's some people that think you're just if you're talented, you just jump in, you get an opportunity, but you've been doing it. You got to put the time in. You got to be patient.
And I want to tell people, man, all this lying that people doing when they be like, yo, I ain't no rapper, I'm a hustler, or this came easy. None of this came easy, bro. A lot of these people worked hard for every situation, bro. Y'all didn't have to be in the position that I was in to win, but just know the grind and know it's parallel with his grind, like having a kiosk. And, that's not the easiest thing to deal with every day. People walking by and people not being ignorant because they don't want to buy your shirt. Or the same thing with us when we trying to, push out music and people like, man, we don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? It's not the easiest thing. All that stuff builds up to your 10,000 hours to get where you're supposed to go.
Yes, sir. Y'all got to ask this last question. I want to know, and especially, I think you'll have a good answer for this because you are a visionary. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What do you see yourself accomplishing in the next 5 years? Because I want to be able to say, I sat down with you 5 years ago and say, yo, Don, he said he was going to exit that joint for $1 billion 5 years ago. I got the tape. 5 years from now.
Yeah, so that's one of them. My 5-year exit strategy is to make this a unicorn, the app. you know, and make it one of those joints. I'm not necessarily always sold on having it sold, but of course they'll throw anything at you to get it.
Yeah.
But this was a hub that we built, we live by. And then just in music, I just want to continue to help artists. It might not be at the level of me being in the studio with all them, but it may be just something where you come and we sit and talk for 2 hours and you get on the right track to where you're supposed to get. That's where I'm most passionate now about. I did a lot of things. I still want to produce, you know, some records, but I'm definitely not into like the hustle and bustle of it again.
Yeah.
Like I'm really trying to get home, go to bed at a good time, get up, work out, handle business, meet with people and call that a day. Like I really don't want to, you know, I don't have these super things that I want to do as of, but in 5 years, it's going to be one of the biggest apps out. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it. Look, man, Don, I appreciate you coming through, man. Yo, well, your manager, that was your manager, Abdul?
No, Abdul works with us on the app. So Abdul is really the person that's handling the content along with Diego and a kid named Jordan. They're handling that.
Okay.
I'm still self-managed, but you know,
gotcha.
I learned a lot. So I'm able to put people in position to handle certain things for me and trust it. So
yeah. When I see him at Investor, he's like, yo, man, I watch your podcast. I'm like, thank you. He's standing next to you. He's like, yo, can we get Don on the pod? Can you get Don on the pod?
That's what I was trying to tell him. Like, listen, this is my man, bro. You really don't have to ask him.
Well, I was like, yo, I was about to ask you, like, yo, can I get Don on the podcast?
Yeah.
So yeah, shouts out to Abdul, man. But this was like, this conversation was like inspirational and motivational for me. And like literally, I can't wait for this to be over because I have some calls to make. You know what I mean? Like there's some plans and I need to see the next big venues because I'm going to set up as a podcaster. I'm not selling t-shirts. I might sell some t-shirts. But it's going to be a podcasting studio.
You got to do it all, bro. You got to do it all because you never know what people are looking for. You know what I mean? You do this and they may come and like, yo, I want to go back home to DC with this shirt on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Based on the experience you had at the
That's it. I wanted to feel smart. Like we was at the Invest Fest. Like I wanted to have on assets over liabilities.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like, look, y'all. I know y'all looking at me as the music staple, but I really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's those things. Hopefully, I'll get some T-shirts from you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I can move around and just show the alliance. You know?
Especially because we're gonna be business partners.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We good.
For sure.
But appreciate you, man. Let everybody know how they can support you and just like close us out with a word of wisdom, man. Just try to put a bow on this whole conversation for somebody that's out there that they have an extreme talent, but it just hasn't happened yet. But let everybody know how they can find you and close us out.
Yeah, you can find me on all the socials. It's Don Cannon, evenly DonCannon. I'm on a Tomorrow app looking for portfolios. We're doing contests every now and then. For any artists out there,
You say you're looking for portfolios. What do you mean?
So when I was saying that, when I was getting people to sign up and having the portfolios, I'm actually on there looking at people's work.
Oh, word.
Yeah, so that's where I go. I don't go to Instagram and look for work. I look on the app because it's isolated. I don't have to go through you on the beach.
Yeah.
And then the next day I see you photographer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This is strictly that.
Yeah.
The words of wisdom for anybody trying to make it, man. Pay attention to your grind and just work hard for it. I know that people say work hard every day, but pay attention to your grind. One of the things I have in the crib, me and my fiance we share like a Coca-Cola bottle. And every week we write down on a sheet of paper, ball it up and put it in a Coke bottle. So at the end of the year, we understand what we did each week. And that's like the gratitude of, the grind. And that's one thing that we didn't get to pay attention to earlier because we didn't have like the thought process to really run through it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm looking back as we spoke on here, everything is vivid because I'm actually paying attention to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I say. Pay attention to your grind and just be grateful of what you're doing and why you're here. And you'll make it sooner or later.
There we have it. Look, man, make sure you go follow Don Cannon, man. Do yourself a favor, support the business, download the app, see what's going on. You can find what you need in there. And lastly, go get you some social proof, meaning go build something really, really big, but come back to your community and teach them how you did it. All right, we out of here. Peace.